Hi, I'm Mark McPherson. Welcome to one of my videos in my series of videos in which we take a look at what I call the 11 essential, fundamental, core, non-verbal or visual communication skills. In this video, we're going to take a look at what I call assigning attributes to people, objects, places, and even concepts. And I think the best way of explaining what I mean is to give you some examples, so here goes. I was at a staff meeting once and the manager was chairing the meeting and she said something like this: "Thanks everybody for being here on time, it's really important. Some people don't seem to be able to get here on time though, and it really is a worry, it holds us all up and it's not acceptable." And they were doing this. Now it just so happened they were pointing at someone who I think is a little bit naughty in getting late to meetings and does hold people up. But I'm none the wiser to this day whether she actually was pointing this person out or not. If it was, it wasn't a particularly assertive thing to do, there's no doubt about that. So I'm none the wiser. But nonetheless, they assigned an attribute, negative, to this person. They were late, held people up, it's not acceptable. Okay? So I'm none the wiser though, as I said, whether they did it deliberately or not, but they most certainly did it. I was at a dinner party and we're all having a talk about nutrition, lifestyle, all sorts of things, and someone said, "Oh, you know what, the problem is some people are overweight and it's their own fault. They complain about it and all that sort of stuff, but really they just have no self-control." And they were going like this. And they happened to be pointing towards someone who was indeed overweight. Now, they realised what they'd done and said, oh, I didn't mean you. Well, too late, because this, it doesn't matter whether they meant it or not, this says we're talking about you, accidentally or otherwise. So sometimes when we're talking about assigning attributes, they can be positive, sometimes they can be negative. They can be, as we've already seen, they can be deliberate, accidental. And they can be good, done for good and done for bad. My wife and I were looking at houses and we were thinking of buying. And we asked the price. By the way, prices in Sydney are just out of control. But as we were going, we said to the real estate agent, "What do you think the price will be?" And he said, "Oh, we're hoping to get around about 1.9. Now, he said it like this: "We're hoping to get around 1.9. It was this incredibly even voice. He didn't say, "We're hoping to get about 1.9, the sellers are going to be really happy with that price," because that would put us off. So he gave an attribute. He assigned an attribute to this number of 1.9 million. And it was not so much positive or negative, it was fairly in the middle, non-emotional. And he didn't make it negative, "Oh, we're only going to get 1.9, it's a real steal." So he assigned an attribute to that concept of money. I remember once when I was giving a workshop and I assigned an attribute to someone in the workshop. I said, so I remember when I was talking to my mother, and as soon as I did this, I realised I was assigning the attribute of my mother to this person, and they sort of looked at me like that. Now, as luck would have it, it was a bunch of terrific people, no harm done. But I did this without thinking. It wasn't deliberate, it was an accident. Now, as luck would have it, I was able to continue, and later on I was able to make a bit of a joke out of it, which was, "Now where's my mother again?" "Oh, there you are." Now, that's fine, and you can do that sort of thing in a workshop, but you've got to be careful. You know, assigning the attribute of my mother to someone wasn't a problem. But you know, it could be if you're assigning something that the devil or someone in the people in the audience didn't like. So you need to be very careful. So it's not always about positives and negatives. You can assign the attribute, in this case, of my mother. I also remember when I was in a workshop as a participant and someone said, "You know, there's lots of difficult people in the world," and they were going like this, and they were pointing at somebody. Now, basically all of the participants, as far as I knew, we didn't really know each other. We just volunteered and put our hand up to go to this workshop. But they did this a lot. And it goes through your mind, are they saying that person's difficult? Is that what they're doing? Now watch this from now on at staff meetings, in conversations. "Oh, I know what you're saying. Some people drive me crazy." We're talking at that person? Because most of the time we actually use these gestures to direct people's attention to something. You know, "Have you seen the price of this? Have you seen the menu?" Whatever it happens to be. So these hand movements are incredibly important. You can use this assigning of attributes to your advantage, and I give the example sometimes in videos and when I'm speaking, running workshops, etc., about how many years ago, almost 20 years ago now, I was talking to someone of my staff who had filled in a timesheet incorrectly, and I had to speak to them about it. So I was able to say, this timesheet, blah, 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 blah. So I was assigning all the time the attribute of negative to this. This was a problem. The timesheet is a problem. I avoided they are a problem, the person is a problem. I stuck to this. I deliberately assigned the negative to this timesheet. Now that helped me when I wanted to talk to them about how we could resolve this issue. I'm going to leave it there. Assigning attributes, positives and negatives, characteristics, etc., to people, objects, places on the stage or in the room, and to concepts is very, very important. We can do it accidentally or we can do it deliberately. It's best if we are doing it deliberately and we know what we're doing. We can assign good things and we can assign bad things, but we need to be very careful. Sometimes we don't have to say exactly what it is. If the graph of our finances is in a bit of disarray, we might actually be saying, we've got a problem here, so I've assigned it with my words. Or I can also assign it with things like, when you look at the graph, so I've assigned negative to it by my facial expressions. I've seen people assign things in staff meetings which like this. Someone gets up to speak and they say, the chairperson says, now we're going to have Robert speak. And they do something with their eyes. They have signed it to the audience. They've said, I don't like Robert. I don't care for what he's going to talk about. Be very, very careful, because sometimes these things are accidental and we give an awful lot away. I'm going to leave it there. I think that's actually enough. Assigning attributes to people, objects, places and concepts is very, very important, and it can enhance the quality of your communication. Make sure you know what you're doing with your hands and your eyes if you're going to assign positives and negatives or any other characteristic. Be careful. All the very best. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, look after your friends and family, and I do hope to chat to you soon. If you want to talk to me about how you can use non-verbal visual communication to enhance the quality of your communication, please give us a call. Just go to the contact page of my website, for example. You'll find plenty of ways of getting in contact with me there. All the very best. Chat to you soon. See you later.